Welcome back, guys. Today is day 7 of the SQL Bootcamp. And now today we are going to learn about the database, and I'm going to show you an example of the database. Now, about the creation of the database in SQL, the create database is the first step for storing the structured data in the database. Now we have created tables. Now those tables should actually belong to a particular database, right? For example, we have created the employee database before. Now, for example, there might be a university database, there might be a bank database. Each database belongs to its own, and if we are creating 2 or 3 different databases, we can make the each table belong to a particular database. So for that reason, we are going to use the create database statement. So the database developers and users use the statement in SQL for creating the new database in the database systems. So it creates this database with the name which has been specified in the create database statement. So the SQL create database statement is used to create a new SQL database, and the syntax for it is the create database and the database name. Okay, always the database name should be unique within the RDBMS. RDBMS is nothing but the relational DBMS, relational database management system. Okay, now I have found the university database that I'm going to explain to you how to read it and etc. And let us create the tables and insertion. Everything is for your practice, and we are going to send you this particular website too. So this is the university database. Now, as you can see, this is an entity relationship diagram. Now, how to read this entity relationship diagram is also an important part, because with the entity relationship diagram, we can make the whole database. So this is the database. Now, this database, this is a university database which consists of all these things. Now, whatever that is there in the rectangle is nothing but the table name. So the table name, and the table name has these attributes that are written in the circles. Now the student has the first name, last name, student hash. Now student hash is nothing but the primary key over here, as it is nothing but the student ID, and the address, city, state, zip, enrollment date, and undergrad question mark. Now if he has given undergrad question mark, it means he expects an answer of yes or no and nothing else. So that is nothing but this, and this in the in here we can call we usually call this the one with this diagram as rhombus or square. Okay, now in this entity relationship diagram, we call it as a relationship. The relationship between the student and course is nothing but the text. Now the text has an attribute. Now that is nothing but the grade. Now the grade is known as the descriptive attribute, because it describes about the relationship that is there between the two entities. So we call this as the descriptive attribute because it describes about it. So this is about the descriptive attribute, that is nothing but the grade, because every student who takes the course need to get a grade in it. And the course, now this is nothing but the course hash. Now the course hash is nothing but this course is a, I mean, as you know, these are all the attributes, and the course hash is nothing but the course ID and the course title, and the CR hour is nothing but it's a short form for course hour. Okay, now that is nothing but the course hour, and again the course has a relationship with the instructor, and as every course needs to be taught, needs to be taught by an instructor. So every course must be taught by the instructor, and the instructor has the attributes of rank, instructor name, and the instructor office, where the instructor office is present. Here you need to understand that now there are 2 lines here. Right. Now these 2 lines also represent something. What do this represent? These represent the total participation. Now if there is a total participation, we call it as 2 lines, and if there is a partial participation, we can call it as 1 line. Now here there is a partial participation of the course to this relationship. Now again, the student has the partial participation from this to take courses, because there are some universities in out of the India where you can take no course also. Now there are people, so there is only a one particular line over here, which means it is a partial participation. And here also some courses might not be taught anyone, which should be taught by themselves. Like it might be like a MOOC course, a massive open online courses, where it needs to be taught only by the student and there's nothing to do with the instructor. So it is also a partial participation over here. So now we have understood about the entity relationship diagram and its entities, relationships, and its attributes. Now again, he has given us the tables. Now this is for the easy to make the database easy. He has given us all these, or else with this particular data also we can actually create a database. With these particular things also we can actually create a database. Now again, we need to know how to read these things. Now the tables, now the student table. Now he has given us in the same way as we write it in the create statement, right? So in the create statement, what do? We first write the name of the table, create table, and we write the name of the table, and then we write the attributes of the table along with their data types and their maximum length, right? So here the table name is student and the student hash. Now again, you need to understand that only this particular attribute in this particular thing has been underlined. Why do you think it has been underlined? The underlying things is nothing but the primary attribute, primary key. I meant, sorry, the primary key. Now, what is the primary key? Primary key is a part of the table where we can identify that particular tuple or a row from the table. So that is nothing but the student hash, that is student ID, which is unique for everyone in the college, which is unique for everyone in the university, and the last name, the first name, and the address, city, state, zip, enroll date, and undergrad. As I said, your undergrad question mark means yes or no. And the course has course hash, course ID, right? So again, the course ID is the primary key over here, and the title, course hour, the instructor name. Now the instructor name has been underlined with the dotted underline. It is nothing but the dotted underline. Why do you think it is dotted underline? The dotted underline, it means that it is a dependent attribute. Now there are things known as dependent attributes and independent attributes. Now what are these dependent and independent attributes? Now the instructor name, again, now the instructor name is actually not an attribute that is shown in the entity relationship diagram. Now why do you think it has not been shown? Because it depends on the instructor table over here, which is dependent on this instructor table here. So it actually hasn't been shown, but it will not be shown in the entity relationship diagram, but from here we need to take it. Now as it is dependent, it is a dependent attribute. Now these are independent attributes. See, the course ID is not dependent on anything else. Now again, the title is not dependent on anything else. The course hour is not dependent on anything else. The instructor name in this particular table is dependent on the instructor table here. So it is the dependent attributes. Now all others are independent attributes over here. So it is not underlined with the dotted underline. I mean, it is not dotted underline. Now coming to the instructor table, the instructor name, instructor office where it is present, and the rank. Rank is nothing but might be the designation as they call it in their particular university. And the takes table, now every student will take a course. Now again, this takes table. Now again, this is the primary key, and the course table is it shouldn't be a primary key actually. Now he has underlined it. I guess it is a mistake because one student might take more than one course over there. Now, sorry. The course is okay. Now again, the student is nothing but the primary key, and the course is also a primary key. Now course is nothing but the branch over there. See, we can call CSC as a we can call CSC as a course, IT as a course, EEE as a course, EC as a course, mechanical, or any other branch as a course. Now we call branches here, they call them courses. And in many places also, in many as NB accreditation, we call them courses over there. Right. So it is course, now the course ID, and it is the grade. Right. Grade is nothing but for example, a student has taken a particular course. Now for example, now Now, for suppose I'm an IT student. Now, if I'm an IT student, my name will be Abhiram. My course will be IT, and I have gained particular credits in my course. Right, that particular grade will be always updating if I'm a student. Right, if I'm in second year right now, my course credit something will be like 40. Now, again after my third year, it will be like 60. Right, so that is how the grade will be increasing, and it is every time I write the exam. Now that will be uh, incremented. So that is about the grade. Now again he has given us, now on what basis we have to create the following databases. Now this is actually for practice, and this is actually for practice, and it is in many places it is not given. So you should understand by the this data itself for what we should give. Now again it is mentioned here, the student hash is nothing but the primary key, and the text of 10 is written here. Now text is nothing but it is a string that we need to give the varchar character. Again the varchar character here of last name should be of 50 characters. The student id is of only 10 characters. So instead of giving it as int, he might be giving it here as an alphanumeric 2. We don't know. So he has given as text 10. So accordingly, according to the given in the database, we are going to create the database, not as we know that in the roll number should always be a number. We shouldn't give the number, right? Now again in the text is 50. Now again the state is 2. Okay, now about this format thing, I'm not going to specify here as it is a little complex, and zip is also a little complex that I'm not going to specify. Enroll date, there is a we can mention there that it is a date or time attribute too. I mean, in the data type, we can mention is the date or time character, and if it's an undergrad, we can say yes or no. Means here, if for primary attribute, now the constraints over here are, now here we need to mention it as the primary key. Now here we are going to mention it as a secondary index. Now about the secondary index, I'm going to tell you that it is actually not said by me. I did not teach this part, but if it has a secondary index, it will help us to identify that particular tuple or a row. Now again, uh, now it is again here, the other constraint that we can add is uh, it is always should be yes or no. Means in the check constraint we can write it is always equal to yes or no, and it shouldn't accept anything else. Okay, now again the course, now the course id is the primary key over here. Now again this is a course hour, which is of a byte characters, and this is the instructor name. Lookup wizard, from the instructor table we need to take this. Now in the instructor table, the primary key, the instructor name is the primary key, but actually we need to have not only the instructor name as a primary key, we also need an instructor ID, which has been missed here. And again, this is the text table. Now this is the student hash. Now as now there are two primary keys over here. Now if there are two primary keys, we need to understand that in the combination, now this particular student with this particular course has a combination which will be the primary key, right? Now again the grade, which is a text of 2 characters, there can be only 2 letters. Now in most of the cases, people don't mention it as an integer or a number. They mention it as text, because it is easy when we are writing the other codes. When we are writing about the other code, it is very easy. Now again, the relationships has been shown here. Now in this, from the student table, now this should be the primary key over here, and this should be the foreign key. Now if there is an infinity symbol, we need to understand that is a foreign key. Now again, from this, okay, again from this particular table, the course hash, that should be, this is the primary key over here, and that should be the foreign key over here. Okay, now this is the instructor name is the primary key over here, which would be the foreign key here, the instructor name. Okay, create to Excel worksheets and code XLS. Now I'm not going to speak about this part, and this code XLS part should be imported, which I'm not going to speak about. Now we can actually make an interface. Now if I'm now for example, I'm sitting in a college office. Now if I'm sitting in a college office, I need to take these details from the students. Now if I Now, can I write it in this format? Can I write the code for every person? So instead of writing code for every person, me who can handle the database, me and being a coder who can do Java, Python, or C, I can actually make an interface for the person sitting in the office to make the work easier. He he actually needs to enter these all, but not by writing code. By just we can make an interface like this where he can where he can enter the details. Now, in the same way, from this particular interface, we can now data will be entered, and this is how it is maintained. Now again, for the course, the data is entered, right? And this is for the course registration form. Now this is another table, right, for the course thing. And this takes table, right, for the takes table also. See, for here, there, as for every person to enter sub, instead of writing submit, he has taken 3 students at a time, and he can submit it. Now he can take grade A, B, C, D, E. Now I have said you about the credits in my example. Now here it is given as the grades, right? So this is the grade entry form. Now this is how we are going to create the database, and this is how we are going to read the data. Now I'm going to show you how to create the tables and according to the relationships. Okay, now, okay, so create table. Now the table name is, the first table name is nothing but the student. So create table student, right? I'm going to write the student ID. So let me write it as student hash, right? Student hash. Now that is a varchar character, a maximum of 10, varchar 2, a maximum of 10, and the comma, student, and student first name, last name. Now, according to what is there in the particular database, we need to create it accordingly. Okay, so varchar 2, I'm going to write last name. It is also varchar first name, last name. Address, cities, and red. So I'm just going to copy this and paste this. And for now, okay, now this is the first name is of 50 characters. So in the same way, we are going to now we have created the student table. Okay. So here we need to understand that in the live SQL, we cannot create a database. We can just create tables in practice. So if we want to create a database, we need to use other things like MySQL and the other applications that are possible that I have shown you in the PPTs once on first day or the second day. So these are all the tables that we have created. The student table with the primary key and the create table with the instructor table. Now I forgot to add the primary key constraint over here, so that is the instructor name, primary key, and here the course id, which is the primary key. So instead of writing it down like this, I wrote it like this. It's my choice, right? And these are all the foreign key constraint from the instructor table and the instructor name. So that is the foreign key constraint over here, and the create table text. And this here is there are two foreign keys over here. The student key references student ID from this particular table. Actually, it is not student ID, it is just student. I did not compile this, so I'm not getting that error. So, and the course ID from this particular table. So that is how we are going to write it. Okay, so, and you can also insert the data, the one row after the other. And here we need to understand that here this particular grade code is a particular, again in this particular website you have given it as two Excel sheets, but we can actually create a table for this too, and again create a constraint over here. See, again there is a column. See, there is a column known as grade, right? So for this particular grade, we can actually do a particular table which consists of these parts, and again, with the foreign key constraint, we can add ABCDE over there. See, I have given only a varchar character of 1. Now we can given a varchar character of only a 1 letter. Now again, with that particular thing, we can actually write this grade points too. And again, rank code. Rank code here is of the instructor part. Now in the instructor table, there I actually it has to be a rank. Now the rank is actually, instead of rank I wrote it as rank. I wrote it as designation. I wrote it as designation because now rank is something that we Indians don't use. Now again rank, and the other reason is that rank is also a keyword in the live SQL. So instead of using the keyword, I have changed it to the designation. And again, as he has given it as Excel sheet, he asked me to import the Excel sheet. We don't need to do that. And this part is a in this part, these images are for the interface that we are not going to check, and these are the information. Now you know how to insert the information, right? So let me take this particular information now, just for an example on how to insert the data. You know it very well, but just for an we are just going to insert one row after the other, right? So Control C, just going to insert into, no, that has to go to which table? That has to go to the student table, right? So insert into student values. So Control V, 103 comma. Okay, see. Now again, if there are so if it is a varchar character, we are going to write like this. We are going to keep these things. Now, as we have written varchar for all the things of our the numbers too, we need to write it like this, right? And varchar, this is also we need to write like this, right? And there should be a comma here, comma here, comma here, 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 and here. And this actually insert into student. Student is also a varchar character. So yeah, I'm going to write like this, and I'm going to run this. So instead of taking the date data type, we're just going to run it like this. I'm going to insert this, and once I run this, I'm going to get the answer. So okay, see, these are all entered. Now I'm just going to, as I've ran this query, I'm just going to select all from student. Now as soon as you click this, so we are going to get this query, and I have left the date query as null, the enroll data as null, so that it is easy to handle, because the date is a little bit different to handle. So instead of doing that, I've just done this. So in the same way, here in the student database, we can add these values. You can practice them. I'm leaving them to your practice. And this takes table also you can practice. And when you're practicing, you'll get a lot of errors, and those errors, now as soon as you debug them, and you'll learn with them. So debug them, learn them, and this is the course. Now these are the other tables, as I said you to practice. Now this instructor table and the course table you need to practice, and this is another table which I haven't mentioned here, which I haven't created. So work on these, and I guess you have completed the whole basic part of the database systems. Thank you for attending the SQL bootcamp for the 7 days.